What do you think about the CBRM selling Center 200 to a private owner? Hi, I'm Joe Ward of Boxer Shorts Media, and I was first alerted to this would-be topic of conversation for the CBRM Council yesterday after spotting a tweet from the Cape Breton Spectator's Mary Campbell. District 8 Councillor James Edwards brought the agenda item forward for the May 25th council session, and I was a bit surprised as this is a little bit of a bolder idea from a council that is typically rather dull, status quo, and seemingly uninspired. But this idea isn't dull, whether you support it or not. It requires our attention. Selling off Sydney's largest entertainment venue, which has been around since 1987, is yet another bit of info that hasn't been revealed to the public before, like considering building the new library in the old courthouse at Wentworth Park, or exploring options to sell off Centennial Arena, or the earlier announcements of pursuing upgrades to the same Center 200 they're now considering selling off. Now, if your job was to be the salesperson in the Center 200 deal, I'm certain that your first call is going to be to the desk of Erwin Simon, owner of the Cape Breton Eagles, who would certainly have the resources available to complete the acquisition if he chose to do so. Maybe the next call is to Member2 Corporation. Granted, if we're going to keep upgrading Center 200 with government capital, that's actually not much of a motivator for a buyer to take on those investments privately instead. However, instead of brainstorming about who might be the buyer, I'm more interested in understanding if it would be a good idea or not. The first question is simply how much Center 200 costs us to keep open every year. My guess is that it runs in the red, but I'll stand by waiting for correction. Now, I'm definitely not crazy about a $19 million appraisal when it would cost so much more to build such a structure brand new. And just a significant renovation of the Baypex alone came in at $10 million. But the idea of a cash windfall of tens of millions to slash the municipal long-term debt, thereby creating significant annual interest savings that can be redeployed for the CBRM, does appeal to me, as does the around 5% of the value of the property that would become new tax revenue for the CBRM. However, given that it's a community asset, it's essential that we have a complete list of every community group that accesses the facility on a regular basis, even if only an annual event. And not only do we need to know who they are, but also we need to know what they're paying. It's not that a new owner would price out customers, but they would certainly consider raising rates to determine what the market will bear. And if they're actually successful at making the venue a bigger draw for events, less lucrative customers could simply be displaced. Recall that as a community, we were pleased to hear recently that the Cape Breton Blizzard Female Hockey Association won $250,000 to upgrade the Canada Games complex at CBU, allowing them to secure ice time, which has been harder to come by reliably elsewhere in the CBRM. Thus, ice time alone might make Center 200 an essential community asset that could be at a direct risk. However, there are some significant positives with a private owner as well. There's no investor that would consider the acquisition of an entertainment venue of that scale unless they believe they could make it profitable. Private business owners are motivated to leverage their assets successfully. They have to get a return. To the contrary, municipal managers aren't empowered to drive towards profitability if the intention of the municipality is to simply subsidize a community asset. And if the municipality isn't very inspired, over the years, even creative managers, generally speaking, could begin to lose their enthusiasm for anything other than simply keeping the lights on. There's likely no contest when it comes to the question of who would create a better and more active entertainment venue. The private business owners either do that or they lose their shirts trying. Someone recently mentioned that it took too long to get a beer at the recent Ryan Rozicki fight. Even visits to the concessions, be it for booze or snacks, is a process that is going to be streamlined if the building is acquired by investors that need to keep the operation in the green. I actually think Councillor Edwards wrote a thoughtful motion, much better than typical, while attempting to gather essential information in evaluating the option. I'd have preferred that he request the estimated construction cost if we had to rebuild Center 200 today, or what insurance would cover if it were a total loss, as well as the list of regular facility users from the community and the rates they are charged specifically. And I would have included a deadline in the motion so it isn't forgotten about or deferred indefinitely by staff. If you don't like the deal and you just want to kill it, just continually say privatization with great emphasis and compare it to Nova Scotia Power. That's scary, right? I get it. Once you turn something over to private industry, it's a profit-driven enterprise from there on out. But it's not Nova Scotia Power. It's not feeding electricity into every home and business, and it doesn't hold a near-complete monopoly. The biggest risk isn't a loss of events. I'd expect to see more and better options under a private owner. The risk is almost certainly a potential loss of ice or court time, either by scheduling conflicts or increased rates. That risk could be mitigated with a good legal team that not only completes the sale transaction, but also does so with contractual obligations to community, recreational, or sporting time. It's really hard to say how the council will view this move once the issue paper comes back. I could imagine the CBRM administration being bullish about offloading an asset that could continue to operate privately while taking it off their books. Now, councillors may lean towards nostalgia and a reluctance to overcome fears from the community of the idea of privatization. Then again, if the right billionaire comes along, their attitudes might quickly change. They've been swayed by just promises before. So it's not hard to imagine that a deal in the tens of millions of dollars of real money would be quite attractive. Now, they did dismiss the Chernin plan for the library, but to keep things in perspective, Chernin wasn't offering to pay for it. If he had, the library would be going up faster than the new NSCC Marconi campus is right now. So this is definitely a deal to watch. If CBRM executives don't like the idea, I wouldn't expect much from the issue paper. But if they like it, that's when things will get even more interesting. To get notified of future Boxer Shorts media videos, please subscribe via your choice of YouTube or Facebook, and remember to share your feedback in the comments below.
Please hang up and try again.